On September 26th, the Joint Chambers of Commerce held a candidate forum at the Kroc Center. Invited and attending were all 6 candidates for the 3 North Idaho College Trustee positions. 3 of these candidates represent the KCRCC, the group, in my opinion, who are directly responsible for the chaos at the college, and whose past members have ignorantly run the college down a path toward disaccreditation. The other 3 candidates are backed by the group Save NIC, which is out to save the college from the dysfunction orchestrated and supported by the KCRCC. This election sets the future for our college. As a participant in many candidate forums, I cannot express to you how much I dislike them. The same question is asked repeatedly to a row of candidates who basically copy the first answer given. The questions are typically weak or long-winded with an obvious answer. No, I prefer a more pugilistic approach, one-on-one debate and challenges, which was specifically forbidden at this forum. Given the importance of North Idaho College to the community and the damage incurred upon the institution by Brent Regan's KCRCC and their minions, Todd Banducci and Greg McKenzie, I was hoping for more, but I didn't find it. Here are the 10 questions asked the candidates. These are long, complex, and often irrelevant, with obvious answers for the most part. Easy to guess at the answers, in other words. Pause the video if you want to review a specific question. Here are the questions I would have asked. Do you support Todd Banducci? Do you support the trustees putting College President Swain on administrative leave? Does the college have the best attorney? Should trustees be communicating with a former employee who is suing the college? Does NIC indoctrinate students with Marxism? Is there too much wokeism on campus? Are NIC professors really communists? Go to a KCRCC Pachyderms meeting and you'll hear their candidates with the real answers to these questions. The time to play nice with these people has passed. KCRCC candidate William Lyons has lived here maybe 5 years. KCRCC candidate Michael Angeletta barely 3. But like many of the rated and vetted mob, Angeletta knows all about Idaho and is ready to tell all us ignorant hicks how to run an institution that's been around Kootenai County 30 times longer than he has. Here's this highlight from his introduction.
In my track record, I bring a lot of results related to working, building coalitions, building bipartisan teams to solve big problems.
This guy has the audacity to claim that he builds coalitions and reaches across the aisle, yet he blocks me on Twitter. He blocks Save NIC, Krista Hazel, Russell Mann, and a host of people from this community who are trying to save the college, would-be voters that apparently he doesn't give a rip about. Remember that about this guy. Because the questions were complicated and dumb, it's difficult to truly measure these candidates. After all, a knowledge of the institution and its challenges is more important to me than whether you can answer a banal question on the spot. So I'm starting with question 2.
The Northwest Commission of Colleges and Universities, or NWCCU, has outlined the necessary steps to return to North Idaho College to good standing. How do you intend to resolve the accrediting body's remaining concerns? Please remember that you have 2 minutes to respond.
No one gave the obvious answer to this question, which is that resolving accreditation is made by ensuring that not one of the KCRCC rated and vetted candidates wins on November 5th. But Eve Knutson gave the best answer.
I believe the only thing remaining is to resolve the issue of board governance. So I believe that making sure that there is a board of trustees who is committed to working with the college president and his staff and the constituencies at the college to make sure that what the college does, how they set their policies and their procedures, all move in the direction of the mission.
Mary Havercroft addressed the KCRCC elephant in the room.
Board members need to work together, not bringing in their own agendas or their own ideology.
And so the question really becomes, well, what is good governance? Good governance means civil dialogue. Good governance means humility. And there's not enough humility to go around. So I just would encourage all of us to be bringing forth more humility and less ego to this conversation and this problem, and we will all benefit.
Humility and ego. Remind you of anyone? Oh, and he lashed out at someone in the audience.
Good governance means civility and not laughing at anybody up here on this panel, by the way.
Shades of Todd, perhaps.
It's professionalism and respect. And I think that's the most important thing that we've lost. And to remember what our purpose is, and that is servitude. That's to serve the students, the faculty, and the community.
On to question 3.
Do you support using tax dollars to fund higher education in Idaho?
This question stabs at the GOP heart of the Republican Party platform. Updated and adopted this past June, which contains this little gem. The Idaho State Republican Party does not support using taxpayer funding for programs beyond high school. Todd Banducci voted for this addition. I saw him stand up and do it in unison with the rest of Brent Regan's hand-picked, head-nodding delegation. As KCRCC endorsed candidates, these 3 are bound to swear fealty to the GOP platform. It was part of their rating and vetting process. But good guy candidate Rick Durbin gave the best and only answer about whether tax dollars should fund higher education.
Yes, of course. I mean, if this is an opportunity for us to serve the community, utilize those resources, expand the college, and continue to keep our costs low for those students, there's no question it's an absolute yes.
Concise, to the point, didn't waste my time. This guy has my vote. On to question 5.
North Idaho College recently switched athletic conferences, which led to a $4 million increase in the athletic budget. However, no money is currently earmarked to cover the increase. How can NIC sustainably support the athletics program?
Angeletta answered first. Now, you can't see it in the video, but from where I sat, I saw him shift his position. His body language became defensive. Remember, these forums generally offer softball questions, and until now, he could parrot everyone else's reply. But here, he goes first.
Give me the tough one when I'm the first one. First, I don't have strong opinions on the division switch on the athletic program. I can tell you that, financially, the college is sitting on very firm ground. I mentioned the surplus. I can tell you my understanding is that there's a one-time budget hit, but given the reserve funds the college has and the ongoing surplus of operations every year, it should be able to absorb the change in the expenses that come with switching divisions.
So he doesn't know how to fund it. Just to spend those reserve funds, all that savings. But the question was on sustainability.
And can you repeat the remainder of that question real quick, please?
How can NIC sustainably support the athletics program?
Well, I think it will because of that budget surplus it already has. So operationally, based on the numbers that I've seen, the college should be able to support that beyond that one-time hit on the budget and be able to fund the athletic program.
He's just going to dip into savings. Not a real answer. And he admitted later that he just doesn't know. He's going to have to circle back with an answer, which is not impressive, no matter what his delivery is. KCRCC candidate Lyons attempted to try to fund the Banducci-McKinsey athletic budget bloat in this manner.
How do we support the growth that we have? Well, you've got 2 things. You can raise ticket cost. Nah, we don't think we can do that. You can increase it by maybe getting media coverage. That's a possibility. I think we sure can do that. There's all kinds of radio and television out there now that's just ready to see our youth out there in their basketball and in their soccer, baseball games and everything.
Is this guy serious? I believe he's aware of the bloated athletics budget, but he can't fathom how to pay for it. It seems like he's the guy who says, we don't need property taxes. We can just do bake sales to pay for the fire department when our house burns down. Not a well thought out or responsible answer at all. But you know what? He's rated and vetted, so he's going to get the votes. Good guy candidate Rick Durbin addresses the weaknesses of the KCRCC candidates' responses.
That question is really, really tough because in my profession, I need to see all the details. I cannot give an answer without knowing exactly where that revenue is coming from. Yes, NIC is in an excellent position fiscally. But without knowing what the without knowing what the ongoing costs are going to be and what the plan is to supplement that added expense, there again, I apologize, but that's the information that we would need to make an educated decision so that we're making sure that we're not putting the college in harm's way.
Eve Knutson hits the nail on the head, discussing the big picture.
I think that I felt really surprised when the announcement was made that we were going to switch conferences. I hadn't really heard a lot about it, and it's not something that really would have come across my radar. But I would have thought that I would have heard something coming from, booster clubs and others in the community talking about. I would have thought they've been really excited in moving toward changing conferences. So, yeah, I was kind of surprised by it.
She's right. This push was from Banducci all by himself. He didn't work with anyone. He didn't consult with community stakeholders. He just jammed it down the college's throat because he has the votes on the board. Question 8.
The Board of Trustees has received multiple votes of no confidence from staff, faculty, and student government. How can the trustees rebuild a positive relationship with these constituent groups?
The votes of no confidence came from the actions of the KCRCC's rated and vetted trustees. Let's hear what Mr. Humility has to say.
My professional background comes from a wide array of open, radically candid cultures, and that entails honesty, it entails candor, it entails humility. And so, instead of being a bull in a china shop, it's first and foremost listening, just plain old listening. But wherever possible, my whole philosophy is open door, let me hear the concerns and let me see how I can help. And so that candor, that humility, quite frankly, that spirit of servant leadership is something I'm most certainly going to bring to the trustees.
Candor, door opening, listening. I can't believe to count the number of people this guy blocks on Twitter. So in my opinion, he's lying. And he does so in such a focused, slick manner. It just sounds convincing. But don't be fooled by this recent transplant to Kootenai County.
And I think in that spirit of listening and that spirit of humbleness, that's where you build trust, that's where you build good governance ultimately. And setting aside all the vitriol and all the politics that is surrounding the college, and there's a ton of it to go around, the finger pointing and the blame shifting needs to go.
It will go if you're not elected. Remember, this guy blocks people on Twitter. And I'm sure he was humble and reaching out across the aisle when he clicked that block button for people who he sees as political adversaries. We need uniters for North Idaho College, not the same division from the KCRCC, the people who brought us Banducci, McKinsey, and a college teetering on the edge of losing accreditation. Now, you may have noticed that during this entire rant, I did not cover Mr. McKinsey. That's because I'm saving the next one just for him.